Hello, Vegas. Well, you don't need a standing ovation now. I'm not even done yet. The production crew told me, everything's going fine up until now. I haven't even started. I've also been told to stay on the stage, but little do they know, it's a big stage. So I'm going to be going all around this thing. Oh my God, I am so excited about this presentation because even though a lot of the information is already out there, we're really not broadcasting a lot of what's happening out there. And I really want to thank everyone for, okay, I'm not going to cry this time. I've been practicing not crying because I get so emotional on this. But some of the players out there, I posted one of them on my Twitter feed who told me about, his daughter watches the presentations that I've done, like the Vegas solar system. And his daughter took that back to school and showed the teacher. And the teacher watched the EVE Online presentation and then changed her curriculum in the class to teach their children well. Op success. Wow. So EVE Online, educating people. So just so you know, if one of you cameramen can zoom in on that, I am watching the Twitch feed, folks. So when you say, get that old man off the stage, no. So yeah, because I like watching the Twitch stream too, and I've just been told there's something like 1,500 to 3,000 people watching. So it's like all of a sudden this audience just got a whole lot bigger. So a lot of new players have no idea what this max singularity person is and why do people say, well, who is this guy? And it's really kind of funny because I've been sitting in the audience and I don't expect it. I'm just a player just like everybody else. But then all of a sudden there's whispers behind me. It's like, you know who that is? I'm like, quit it. But yeah, I'm just another player like you. But I started EVE Online in 2008 with my character Max Singularity. And at that time, I just wrote a role play story about him, that he was an Amarian admiral, and that he was a priest, an admiral priest, which in the Amar, that's doable. Then I had a kind of a role play mission to defeat Jamil Sorum. And I was going to bring down an NPC character. And that's impossible to do in any gaming world. But CCP, they decided to play. And, dominoes being dominoes, the drifters ended up killing Jamil and maybe had something to do with that. I don't know. So it was really kind of cool. But what happened was in a darker part of this story, in 2014 and 2015, I had 7 friends commit suicide. Some were EVE players, some were coworkers, some were just friends, and it really hit me pretty hard. But something else happened. On this very stage in EVE Vegas in the past, I met Coffee Rocks and Mom Bellicose. Mom Bellicose is here somewhere. Yay, Mom. She lost her son in EVE Online. And they put up a presentation about broadcast for reps. And broadcast for reps just hit me straight up. And I was like, yes, you have my sword, literally. And so I became a staunch supporter of broadcast for reps and created the organization called the Sixth Empire. And that's when players started calling me the Space Pope. So I made one mistake. I dressed up as the Space Pope, and I won the grand prize at Reykjavik costume cosplay contest. And then that kind of made it permanent. So I have a trademark. The players did this to me. And so today we have the Sixth Empire Alliance in-game. I'm the co-founder. I'm not the sole founder. Rhiannon Ferry Red. Shout out to her. I hope she's watching. Hi, Red. What? Yes, love you, Red. The audience is shouting out. She's the co-founder, and she had the same mission too, because she now has a tattoo of the Sixth Empire here, and if you see a picture of it, you can see the scars where she survived suicide. And she has the semicolon tattoo, so if you know what that is. So it's very important to us to reach out and make sure people are aware of it. Talking about suicide can help. And so if you use the hashtag B4R, there's no trolling allowed. This community will kick your ass. It's true, right? I see people nodding in the audience. Yeah, it's true. That's a formal call for help. So that's how the Space Pope kind of came about to be. And I'm very honored that the players treat me as you do. And I was very honored by CCP's presentation. Holy crap, the core. The video, it was my words at the beginning and my words at the end. And I'm proud to be a spokesperson for this community, because this is the most awesome community in the gaming world. So. I've tried to keep an air gap between my game life, my family life, my Burning Man life, and my NASA life. Good luck. Good luck, they said. Unfortunately, there's this thing called the internet, and you can't really hide behind those walls. So it's kind of been merging in. So I thought, why hide this? Spreading the message about the Sixth Empire and what we're doing is kind of a good thing. So hold my beer, kid. I got this. So yeah, my boss said, wait, you're the Space Pope, aren't you? I was going, oh, God. And he outed me during a meeting. So I was like, wow, okay, here we go. And being outed at your workplace is kind of interesting. And there's rumors going around, so I'm just going to tear down all the walls. Yeah, it's true. I do work for NASA. 32 years I've worked for NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and it's just been an awesome, awesome career. I just recently announced my semi-retirement. I'm going to have 52 four-day weekends a year. Yeah. My Sixth Empire diplomat, Ivy, just yelled out, more time for Eve. So I have seen things, and I have done things, as you can see by the photos here. I've met some very interesting people. That is Neil deGrasse Tyson up there. But the most famous personality I got to meet was Carl Sagan. And I was only in my 20s, and he's the person who inspired me to work at JPL. And he and I got to spend 90 minutes face-to-face. And to this very day, it's one of the best 90 minutes of my entire life. I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry. Walk away, walk away, walk over here, walk over here. Okay, see, that worked. Okay, last time I ran off the stage at Toronto. Whew, that was like, no questions, bye. One of the pictures there, you see the rover wheels. And what I do for NASA is I'm a knowledge management analyst, formerly the deputy chief knowledge officer of JPL. But since I'm going part-time, I can't have such a lofty title. So I'm a knowledge management analyst, and as an analyst, I write lessons learned. And there you see me holding one of the rover wheels that we did testing on, where the Mars rover, in its extended mission, has been running over rocks. And this was a new word for me to learn. I didn't know what this word meant. Geologists will know it, but I'll teach you. It's called a ventifact. A ventifact is a rock that is embedded in a hard material, kind of like a concrete or a very stiff mud. And it doesn't give way when you roll over it. And it doesn't even have to be sharp. It could be rounded. But it forced the rover into that, and these wheels are aluminum. And so I write a document called a lesson learned. In lessons learned, take the information that we learned, and it allows NASA to become smarter, because we learn these lessons, and then we can apply that to the next rover. So if you see in the picture, he's holding another wheel, and that's the wheel that's going to be used on the new Mars 2020, which is launching in July, and it's under construction right now. And I didn't bring any pictures. I wish I did, but it's so awesome. It's so awesome. But that being said, this presentation is not an official NASA presentation. I am not a spokesperson for NASA or JPL or Caltech or EVE Online even. So I'm going to have a little disclaimer here. This presentation is by Charles White. So excuse me for a second. Wardrobe changes seem to be a thing recently. So I'm going to turn into private citizen Charles White. And this way, my bad jokes and humor is in no way representative of NASA, Caltech, or JPL. And the opinions that I have about space and the accuracy and errors are mine and mine alone. And I like doing that because this way I can speak directly to you and let you know what's happening. And yeah, I might be under the influence of fetos, so. So this is part 4 in a series. In EVE, Iceland, I really gave my first NASA-level talk, and it's called There Is No Lull, not null, and not LOL. It's There Is No Lull. And I weighed a lot back then. I was 230 pounds. And then Vegas, I gave a talk about the solar system. This was one of my favorite presentations. And the reason it was a favorite is because I heard people in the audience go, wow, whoa. And that I got a lot of comments back, like the daughter and the father that went to that. So the more I hear those aha moments, the more it energizes me. I'm not paid in ISK or dollars. I'm paid in So that, yeah. And then CCP asked me to help write the physics model, because for a couple of years I was working with Falcon and torfifrons, and I talked about a model, and I invented something called the power enhanced generator. And for me, it was really tough to try to understand how a spaceship only does 200 miles an hour in space. If you do the math, that's only 200 miles an hour. An Abaddon with no skills. With skills, you can get it up to 230 miles an hour. So it's like, well, that's not how space works. So we needed a whole new physics model to do that. And in the book, Frigates of Eve, Max Singularity kind of lays out a story on that. And I can't talk about that. Okay, never mind. I'm on the spectrum. Things just come to my mind. I don't know. So that was the physics of Eve. That's also up on YouTube. And as you see, I was slowly gaining weight. I was 230 pounds and 235 pounds and 240 pounds. But I stand here before you. Good, Jesus Christ. I think I gained a pound back last night. So that's my long introduction to my talk. So I'm also known for long introductions. So on to our feature presentation, Return to the Moon. This is man, there's just so much information out there. And, there's Walter Cronkite who brought together, I can't get the Walter Cronkite yet. One more disclaimer. Always in motion is the future. All right. I'm not going to talk about the new heavy lift rockets. Like look these up on YouTube. There's so much information about what's happening and what's coming soon, TM. The Vulcan Center by the United Launch Alliance. I mean, everyone talks about SpaceX, and yeah, Starship is there. SpaceX gets a lot of the press. They know how to brand. And so that's pretty good. But there's another huge rocket called the New Glenn, and it's being made by Blue Origin. And Blue Origin, by the way, is the first people to actually stick a return landing before SpaceX. There's a little rivalry between the two. But you don't hear about it. Their PR is just not as good as SpaceX. And then they're talking about a commercial SLS, which is NASA as well. And then future funding, how can you ever talk about that? However, I can say this. I was in the hotel room, and Jim Bridenstine, the administrator of NASA, had a presentation. I couldn't modify my slides because they're in the can, but they're changing how NASA does business. So it would take us a couple years, basically, to buy a rocket that NASA owns. A couple of years, 4 or 5 years. By that time, we change presidents. So then it takes 4 or 5 years to buy a rocket. We've figured out a new way of doing business at NASA. We don't buy the rocket. We buy a rocket service. Oh, now all those big rockets give us a service. They own the rocket. We just buy the service to lift us up. That means things can go faster now. And so it's a whole new contracting methodology that we're looking into. So some of these dates, might be tongue-in-cheek, but it might happen. So with that based in mind, now let's talk about Walter Cronkite. Okay, big sigh. I think I need some water because I'm excited now. You can see how nervous I am now. Okay, yeah, that's me and my mom. Rest in peace. I love you. Oh, look, I'm taking water there too. That's me and my mom sitting on our old leather couch, and we would watch the black and white television. So this is one of those old man things that I say, well, in my day, this was a spacecraft, and that's the way it was. And there was a journalist out there, and his name was Walter Cronkite. I really feel sorry for all of you who have never known the integrity, the honor, and the truth that you would get from Walter Cronkite in the news agencies of that time. Yeah, it's changed. Everything's based on the clickbait. Make an article that makes you click on it. New NASA invents warp drive. No, it's clickbait. There's a lot of stuff that's clickbait journalism. And this was the last real journalist that actually reported. And that's what got me excited about the space program. When Apollo 13 had its crisis, and I was only 11 years old, that was the first time I stayed awake for 24 hours in my life. And I know the exact day, because I was so concerned for the astronauts, even as a kid. My mom kept telling me, go to bed, go to bed. And I just sat there and watched the black and white, or then it was a little bit of color, TV at that time. But this was the Apollo rocket. This was the Saturn V rocket. And it was a huge rocket. And unfortunately, I never got to see one launch. So we were going to the moon. And it looked like there was this huge race to build up a colony on the moon. And I was so excited because that was 1970s. And today it's 2019. Where's my moon base? Seriously, there should be 10,000, 20,000 people living on the moon. But we lost our way. We lost our path. We lost our desire. We lost the goal and the drive to go there. And people were saying, well, why do we go there? There's not much there anyway. So I have some news for you. We are returning to the moon. And this time, to stay. We are going to prepare for our next giant leap. It's one giant leap for man. One giant leap for mankind. Did I screw that up? One giant leap for mankind. One small step for a man. One giant leap for mankind. There, I got it. Okay. I got to pay a fine. Okay, fine. So you know, this is important that we do this, that we prepare for this giant leap. Mars is really, really far away. We will overcome challenges because there's a lot of challenges that, believe it or not, we don't have the technology to answer this right now. And we're going to go to new places on the moon. And for all those like me that dream to press on, we go. So, how are we going? When are we going? Who is going? Twitch TV, prepare for this video, because this is probably enough to make me cry again.
50 years ago, we went to the moon. We called it Apollo.
What many people don't know is that Apollo had a twin.
She was a woman named Artemis,
goddess of the moon.
We are returning to the moon.
as a new generation of explorers.
This time to stay.
And to prepare to achieve humanity's next giant leap of sending the first human missions to Mars.
We believe our course will redefine what is possible.
That we would discover life-saving,
earth-changing science.
And that the challenges ahead will inspire generations.
This is our manifest.
For all who wondered if we could return.
For all who dreamed of pressing beyond.
This is your calling.
We go for all of America.
We go. We go as the Artemis generation.
We go.
Whew. We go. Yeah, we do go. You know, this is going to be. I was going to wear that suit, but then I chickened out. So yeah, we go. This is amazing. So checking the Twitch stream. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay, why waste all that money on the moon? Okay, a valid question, good point. Why waste all this money on the moon? Why are we doing that? Well, the answer is really simple, and we really need Walter Cronkite to tell you. But since there is no Walter Cronkite, you're stuck with Charles White. Give me one ISK, I'll give you 14. That's better than a JITA scam. You only get, they'll only double your ISK. I'll give you 14 times your ISK. This is really true. For every dollar invested by the government in NASA over the years, the American economy and other countries around the world have seen $7 to $14 in new revenue from the spin-offs and the licensing agreements. That amounts in 2014 to $17.6 billion that was invested, which is half of a penny. Actually, it's 0.4 of a penny for every dollar in infrastructure NASA spent. Paid out $246 billion in technology. And all that money that we spend on NASA, none of that money is spent in space. That money was spent on these two molars right here that cost around $1,200 each. But seriously, that was paid for by NASA JPL money and the insurance companies. And that money is spent in the United States. We don't spend it in space. There's no 7-Elevens in space, where you can buy stuff. And each state of the union gets a significant amount of money. I guess it's not a valid Eve presentation unless there's a graph. So, so yeah, all 50 states. And what do I mean by that $248 million that's spent from the NASA space program? Well, how many people here have a cordless drill, like the Black & Decker drill? Or have you gone to the doctor and they put, they just point to your ear and it gets your thermometer? Do you have a cell phone? Do you drive on tires? Do you have freeze-dried food? Water purification, disaster relief, solar panels, even better milk for babies. The dust buster. The old dust buster. A lot of these technologies that are developed for NASA were spun off to create the technologies that we use for our everyday life. And one of the most important ones, since we're going to the Omnia nightclub, LEDs, baby. So I really encourage you to do some homework. Go to spinoff.nasa.gov, and each year there's a different report that's in there, and it talks all about the technologies. And so next time you hear someone in space, we're wasting that money, is like, we're investing that money. You're investing in your future. So back to our regularly scheduled program. Yeah, okay. I guess they're doing okay. So Apollo had a twin sister, and her name is ARTEMIS. And also, again, I couldn't update the presentation, but just Wednesday, NASA introduced a new logo. Yeah, search that one out on Google. Not homework assignment, too. It's really beautiful. But we found something that Apollo didn't know about in 2008. We got a direct indication that there's water at the south pole of the moon. What? The trolls are like, what? Water? That changes everything. It does change everything. Because now if we have water on the moon, that's one of the first requirements to settle, like the West, to settle a new place. We need water. Because we can get oxygen from the water, H2O. So, you know, it's kind of funny. You have oxygen, which is flammable, and you have hydrogen that is flammable. Put them together and you can drink it. Whoa. Yeah, that water on the moon. And there's lots of it, not just a little bit. And we can use the oxygen for breathing, and we can use the hydrogen for rocket fuel. So there's already some resources on the moon that we can already use. And we discovered it in about 2008, 2009, but we confirmed it for the first time just a year ago in 2018. Yeah, it's really there. It's not just an observation. The water is actually on the moon. But wait, there is more. We need the moon to go before Mars. If I start in my semi-retirement, my friends have started me hiking, if you've been watching my Twitter feed. And I went hiking in the Sierras for the first time in 40 years. And so I tell people as I'm retiring, I'm investing in titanium. They're like, oh, is titanium paying out? No, I'm losing money like you wouldn't believe. Titanium stove, titanium spoons, titanium cookware, titanium backpack. That's what's kind of needed to be very lightweight. But if I was to just go hiking deep into the Sierras, or let's say I want to climb Mount Everest, would you walk out of your house and climb Mount Everest on day one? You could, but there's a lot of dead bodies on Mount Everest to this very day. And I guarantee you, if we tried to do that, it's not going to be very good if we just make one giant jump to Mars. We need the moon. The moon is only 3 days away. Mars is 9 months one way. And then with the open window to come back using gravity mechanics, it can take up to 2 to 4 years. That's a long way away if you get a flat tire. So fine, the trolls say we go. So what is the plan? All right. Well, the plan is we're going to need a new type of lander because the Apollo lander was, I'm going to use the term, and it's probably not politically correct or accurate even, but the Apollo, the first Apollo, like the Eagle has landed. The Eagle was disposable. It landed, we came back, and we left the lander base there, and we left the capsule out, and it was disposable. We can't keep disposing our hardware. We have to reuse them again. So we're going to need a new lander, and this is, it doesn't look as, I was going to say it doesn't look as pretty, but none of them looked pretty. But it's a whole new platform. It's going to be able to descend, it'll ascend, it'll have a transfer orbit, and we need to refuel and use it again over and over again. So this is one of the key things to the new program. And maybe they can pretty them up a little bit, who knows. They might have a couple conceptual designs. None of this, like CCP in ship design, this is a work in progress. None of it may look like this, or it might. It depends what it looks like. But we looked at a couple of different ideas. And one of them was a single lunar lander from Earth to the moon. It can't be done. We don't have a launch vehicle big enough to do that. How about a two-stage option like we did? Well, we were only on the moon for a few hours and a day or two. So we want to stay longer. So a two-stage option is not the answer. So what about a three-stage option? That's the answer. We're going to go with a three-stage option for the lander. So there's going to be an ascent element. There's going to be a descent element that comes down and lands. And then what'll stay in space is this transfer vehicle. The transfer vehicle will move it from a low lunar altitude to a higher lunar altitude to something else. We're going to need a new capsule. Again, the Apollo capsule was disposable. We're going to spend longer time in space. We're going to spend many more days in space. So we need a deep space model of the capsule. And we've been developing over a couple of years Orion. And the front part, the capsule, is Orion. That's made in the United States. And the rear part is the European Service Module, the ESM, and that's made in Europe. And so it's a combined effort. And this will be solar powered to generate electricity, and it'll allow us to stay in space for a long, long time. So, and it's a much larger capsule too. It'll be the largest heat shield ever created for a spacecraft as well. And so there's the European Service Module with the solar array and the main engine underneath, which is also new. The solar arrays can unfold. And so it's a whole new, exciting platform that's ready to go. And the European Service Module is a multi-European effort. So even Norway, maybe I'll move to Norway, be a space scientist in Norway. I don't know. Apparently it's there. But there you go, Finland, Norway, Germany, all those locations, they all have something to do with this new program. What I'm trying to tell you is this isn't just conceptual. We're starting this. We're working on this. But we're going to need a new rocket. We're going to need an entire new rocket. And your homework assignment, again, is watch my There Is No Lull presentation, because I talk about the building of the new rocket system. It's not just one rocket. It's a system. That's why we call it the Space Launch System. And it has a couple different blocks. That comes in two flavors, a crew version and a cargo version. So it's got the Atron and the Badger version, I guess. So and so this new system not only needs new rockets, but we needed an entirely new launch tower as well. And we had to rebuild the entire base. But I have some more pictures. I'll try to show you that too. But are you ready? Are you ready? I'm not. I'm so excited. We need something totally new. Wait, what? This is a new space station. It's going to be a space station that's going to orbit the moon. We call it Gateway. Gateway is very interesting because what it's going to allow us to do, it's going to save us the round trip from Earth back to Gateway. Since we can get into orbit without dealing with entry, descent, and landing, we can take care of any problems at the Gateway. It's also a gas station. It's also a supplies for food, because we can run unmanned cargo spacecraft back and forth from the Earth to the Gateway, and then those new those new landers can come up and refuel and get new food and go back down. So this is a real critical part of this program. And we're going to need a few other cool things. What we're going to need is some remote probes, small robotic probes. These are robots. And these are all going to be a service. We're going to work with the commercial providers, and they're going to provide us a service to go explore where that water is. And they're going to go in advance. And I have an announcement for you. This just came out a couple days ago. And this is the big boss, Jim Bridenstine. I mean, this is the administrator of NASA. And I'm just some guy. So here is again, I'm not representing NASA, but here is an official announcement by the big boss.
The ARTEMIS program is pressing forward to the moon, and science is leading the way. We go to inspire generations and to bring home ideas and discoveries that will benefit all of humanity. To do this, we must better understand the makeup of the moon. We must study areas of the lunar surface where no human or rover has ever been before. Today, we announce an initiative that further demonstrates how this effort is unlike any before it. Today, NASA becomes a customer of commercial partners who will deliver our science instruments and our lunar technology to the surface of the moon. This is a crucial step in our ongoing success. NASA is proud to announce that the first commercial payloads to the lunar surface will be provided by Astrobotic, Intuitive Machines, and Orbit Beyond. These companies are prime examples of American ingenuity, vision, and know-how. Because of these landers and the instruments they deliver, the science, technology, and research that will be done in the immediate future will prepare the way for humanity's return to the moon by 2024. We are going.
We are going. So before this presentation, I asked people to ask me questions, and one of the questions was, why don't we partner with commercial partners? Well, my answer to all of you that have asked that, good idea. That's a great idea. Good thing that was your idea. Because we are fully participating with the commercial environment, and we are hiring these services to go out there and do that. So the other thing the trolls always ask, when you going to do this? It's like, again, the schedule is really kind of hard to know what the schedule is going to be. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. But this is our plan. So remember my talk, There Is No Lull, was in 2016. And we changed the whole vision because I talked about how we were going to capture an asteroid and we were going to put it in orbit around the moon using the SLS and the Orion system. But a lot of that has changed. We now have this new directive to go to the moon and go quickly and stay. And so that's this whole plan that is there. But to put this into a visual form, the first thing that you're going to hear about is Artemis 1. Artemis 1 is going to be an unmanned spacecraft using the Orion Capsule, and we're going to do an entirely new orbit around the moon. And I have it in my backup slides. If I'm not running over, I can show you what that moon looks like. But Artemis 2 will be the first humans around the moon and back, and that's what we're kind of aiming for. Then we're going to launch this power module for Gateway. The first thing will be this power module, the SRP, and then we're going to launch a support module. Then we're going to launch a manned module there, a mission to it, and then we're going to begin surface operations. Now, if you look at the surface of the moon in that same timeline, you're going to see those commercial payloads that the big boss, Jim Bridenstine, just talked about on there. And the large scale cargo landers, that's all going to be provided by commercial services. So it's not just NASA going alone. We're giving money to all these corporations, and they have employees that need dental work too. none of the money is being spent on the moon. We're spending it on Earth. And by giving it to the corporations, we're spreading this investment to everybody. But phase 2 is really exciting. I hope I live long enough to see this. Because we're going to start building the permanent presence out there. We're going to build up the gateway system to be a little larger and more support. We're going to still have robotic landers, and we're going to have lunar rovers. I love that lunar rover down there. I'm inspired by that, and I'm trying not to make one for Burning Man. I'm trying not. I know it's so tempting. It's not that I won't have any time. Oh, wait. I told you I'm semi-retiring. And we're going to need a lot of rocket launches. And this is why we're not just going to buy to own. We're going to use all these services from Blue Origin and from SLS and from SpaceX. People always come to me and says, well, you're in competition with SpaceX? No, we're not. We're cooperating, we're collaborating. All we need to do is build this stuff, and they need to build it. But there's so many things to build. Build all the things. Yeah, we need to build it. So this is a video by Lockheed Martin, and this is a concept of how we're going to build up the lunar gateway. So first thing we do is we send out an Orion capsule. That'll be the first test around the moon and back. So that's what it'll kind of look like. And then we're going to send that ion-powered, yes, these are ion engines, the power element, the PPE. And this power element will be the first part of the station. And then Orion will bring a habitable module to it, and it'll dock with it and, go back to Earth. And so assembly starts in lunar orbit. This is really cool. Okay, next thing we do is bring out another module that has the logistics. Any logistic pilots in the audience? Woo, there you are. So that's the logistics. And then check this arm out. This arm works on 2 ends. It can actually spider and walk around the entire station, which is really cool. We'll bring another habitable module and make sure we hook that up as well. And then we're going to need to bring an airlock out. This airlock is for the lunar lander, so they can also walk outside and do spacewalks at the lunar station, at the gateway station. So then, I love that arm. It's my favorite thing. We can take instruments outside of that, transport them, and we can attach it to the station in any way we want to do as well. So again, multiple flights back and forth. We're entering such a unique time in our history, and yet you don't hear about it from the clickbait news. Oh, sorry, that was an editorial. I'm on the spectrum, forgive me. So they take the other module back because, again, they can refuel this back and forth. So that eventually, this whole thing will look like this. Holy moly. It'll be smaller than the International Space Station, but it's going to have a lot of capabilities. And because it's local, it's kind of easy, again, to go back and forth from Earth, and then easy to go from this lunar orbit back down to the surface. So this is real key. Oh, I am running out of time. I guess I'm going to have to go a little faster, but I just want to tell you all these stories. So in my presentation that's on YouTube, that's there in the corner, I kind of showed you the construction of the SLS system. And this stuff is really big. The SLS is really big. We had to come up with all new tooling. So a lot of people were like, oh, NASA's not doing anything. That's not true. That's why I said there's no lull. Because we had to have people actually turning screwdrivers and welding and building the tools to make the rocket pieces on there. And this stuff is really big. Those are people down at the bottom there. This is what we need to make the hydrogen tank at the Vertical Assembly Center. So this stuff takes a while to build. You don't just build Rome in a day. It takes a while for us to retool. And this new SLS is very modular system. But it's also compatible. We can make it in pieces So the liquid oxygen tank is that piece right there, and then the hydrogen tank down below. And so we have a new dome welding tool, so this helps weld a dome, because we're going to need 4 domes. We're going to need a dome on top of the LOX tank and a dome on the bottom, a dome on the top, dome on the bottom. So that by using this modular approach, we save a lot of money as opposed to the Apollo. It doesn't need to be manufactured. So it all comes down to a modular system that we can make and put it together in all of this. So where are we from the null, from the lull? The lull here. Here is the current status of where we are. Did I do that pose? Here we go. Here's the Artemis 1 project. We're working on the Orion spacecraft, getting that ready to go. We've also done a few test flights of the emergency abort. So these are the real pictures just weeks ago. The launch abort system getting ready. File that away. The Orion Q module. Remember, it was like just this green skeleton before. Now you see it with the actual pieces on it. This is new. This was just flown over on a huge airplane. The ESM, that's done. The stage, this was work done by hand. It's not just magically appears in your factory. A lot of work. You'll see a lot of technicians doing stuff by hand. This is what's going to get us to the moon area, and this is the launch adapter. That's all it is, really. It's just an adapter from one size to another. This is a skirt that protects the upper tank on the top, and then we're going to need a tank. So this is, I want that job, just moving this tank around. It just looks so cool. This is the inner tank that goes between the 2 larger tanks there. And then comes the big tank, liquid hydrogen tank. And we made a mock-up of this as well, and we've been moving it around to practice. Then the bottom of the rocket, this is the module that holds the engines. And these are the engines, the RS-25 engines, that we had a bunch of spares from the space shuttle program, so we're going to use them. So it's a lot cheaper we're using. And then, of course, my favorite, you know, I always lose it on that one. Yeah, those solid rockets. You launch those solid rockets when they go. So yeah, and we're also going to need a new space suits as well. We're going to need 2 new suits. We're going to need a new suit for the capsule, and we're going to need a new space suit to travel around on the moon. Because again, they can't be disposable. We have to use them over and over again. And so there's going to be a few modifications to be done. And within the last month, we just announced that the new suit has been designed and selected, and we're starting to make those right now. So these are 2 that are ready. But you know what? There's something different about this picture than any other picture you would see in Apollo. What? A woman? Oh yeah, look at that. There's a woman in the suit. You know, who shall be the first woman on the moon? Oh my God! So I've worked for NASA for 32 years, and this thought got to me. I've been going to schools and lecturing, and when I was in schools, there were 9-year-olds, and I would say, one of you are going to be the first woman on the moon. And the kids, you'll be, some of the young boys too, the men and women on the moon, if we have a moon base. But guess what? Those aren't kids anymore. In that 32 years that I've been working, just think about this. Right now, there is an adult woman, we don't know who, and she doesn't know who is training to be the first woman on the moon. Yeah, right? So we have blazed the trail to the moon 50 years ago. We have a new destination to look for water. We have to overcome new technology, reusable spacecraft, radiation hardening, We have a lot of new technologies, and we're going to use our commercial partners. Today, we will go further, and the idea is to stay. Who has been born after 2002, November of 2002? And I ask that question because guess what? We have been a spacefaring race that whole time. There has never been a time when space was left unoccupied by humans since 2002. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of humans in space. Isn't that awesome? So I guess I didn't have to do this entire presentation. All I had to do is show you this video. So in summary, this is everything I just talked about.
50 years ago, we pioneered a path to the moon. The trail we blazed cut through the fictions of science and showed us all what was possible. Today, our calling to explore is even greater. To go farther, we must be able to sustain missions of greater distance and duration. We must use the resources we find at our destinations. We must overcome radiation, isolation, gravity, and extreme environments like never before. These are the challenges we face to push the bounds of humanity. We're going to the moon to stay by 2024, and this is how.
This all starts with the ability to get larger, heavier payloads off-planet and beyond Earth's gravity.
For this, we designed an entirely new rocket.
The Space Launch System. SLS will be the most powerful rocket ever developed.
And with components in production
And more in testing?
This system is capable of being the catalyst for deep space missions
we need a capsule
that can support humans from launch
through deep space and return safely back to Earth.
For this, we've built Orion.
This is NASA's next-generation human space capsule.
Using data from lunar orbiters that continue to reveal the moon's hazards and resources.
We're currently developing an entirely new approach to landing and operating on the moon.
Using our commercial partners to deliver science instruments and robotics to the surface, we are paving the way for human missions in 2024.
Our charge is to go quickly and to stay, to press our collective efforts forward with a fervor that will see us return to the moon in a manner that is wholly different than 50 years ago.
We want lunar landers that are reusable,
that can land anywhere on the lunar surface.
The simplest way to do so is to give them a platform in orbit around the moon from which to transition.
An orbiting platform to host deep space experiments and be a waypoint for human capsules. We call this lunar outpost Gateway.
The beauty of the Gateway is that it can be moved between orbits.
It will balance between the Earth and Moon's gravity.
In a position that is ideal for launching even deeper space missions.
In 2009, we learned that the moon contains millions of tons of water ice.
This ice can be extracted and purified for water. It can be separated in oxygen for breathing or hydrogen for rocket fuel.
The moon is quite uniquely suited
to prepare us and propel us to Mars and beyond.
This is what we're building.
This is what we're training for.
This we can replicate throughout the solar system.
This is the next chapter of human space exploration.
Humans are the most fragile element of this entire endeavor, and yet we go for humanity. We go to the moon and on to Mars to seek knowledge and understanding and to share it with all. We go knowing our efforts will create opportunities that cannot be foreseen. We go because we are destined to explore and see it with our own eyes. We turn towards the moon now, not as a conclusion, but as preparation, as a checkpoint toward all that lies beyond. Our greatest adventures remain ahead of us. We are going.
We're going.
We are going.
We are going.
We're going.
Thank you very much, the EVE community, for all your trust you've put into me, and the honors and the gifts and the swag that you've done. Remember, we do care for each other. We do have our Disabled Gamers program. For those who are in attendance, the crew has printed out your Concord name badge. There's a 98% chance they have your name. They're just going to throw those passes away, so donate $1, help out the Disabled Gamers, and do what we can. And as the Space Pope, thank you. Wow. Okay, I don't think there's time for questions, is there? They're telling me they got a hook on me, so I'll be available outside. I'll be happy to talk to you all. Thank you.